these two knobs, these are my favorite thing. And then you turn this, and it's just like the feedback. It's so ugly.
The reason I own a lyre is because of you have cost me a lot of money in life.
And
The last few cribs have been in grandiose settings, St John's Wood with Abbey Road, Malibu at the Woodshed. But today we're in Pasadena in a smaller space where huge sounds are created. It's my chance to be a real fanboy here and introduce you to Mr. Joseph Holliday, aka Snakes of Russia.
hey,
How you doing, mate? You all right?
how's it going, man? Yeah,
It's good to meet you.
Yeah, come on in, come on in.
Oh wow, I can't believe I'm here. This little corner is so familiar to me because you make loads of Instagrams and stuff.
Yeah, it turns out it's in color in real life. Yeah.
So I stumbled across you just because you incorporate extraordinary imagery with your particular style of death beats.
Yeah, kind of fits, you know? It's
Absolutely.
just, it's kind of a cool, you know. And then the hashtag works great too, because it's kind of a way to like, for people to find all those videos, you know, just death beats.
So what is your background? You're from New Jersey originally?
Yeah,
That's right?
grew up right outside of Manhattan in Freehold, New Jersey, where Bruce Springsteen is from. It was a great place to like get my foundation. I started as a drummer. I played drums in like heavy metal bands, then started fronting bands and singing. Then, I mean, the whole time I was writing electronic music because I was kind of fascinated with sampling. I was doing a rock band here, and then I kind of made my way into production, ultimately just making the decision to just work on my own stuff. And that's where we are now. Yeah.
And to create this feels like a setup that has evolved.
Yes, it has. I mean, from the very, like that sampler I was talking about, that's it right there, the Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus.
Wow.
This is the first sampler I bought, and I can't believe I still have it. Like, but I use this on so much stuff. I mean, at the time I was making like hip-hop beats and industrial music and stuff, and just floppy disks, and then I got the SCSI drive in the back. But yeah, and I still have it, and I just, the bitrate goes down so low, it's just so crunchy.
You still use it?
Yeah.
And the muscle memory's all there.
Yeah. Then this is the first proper synth I bought. Just a little while after that, I bought this.
It's nuts that you still have it.
It's incredible that I still have it. This thing has been, right after I did a band where it was me playing this and a bass player and a drummer, and everyone thought we were nuts at the time. You know, you need guitars. We toured all over the place, and I don't know how this thing is still functioning. It was, I brought it in for repairs, and they gave it a good clean recently, because it was just, the pots were so dirty. It was crazy. But yes, that was I can't believe I still have both of these pieces of gear. It's just astonishing to me.
It's good to see stuff like your Space Echo and is that a Knaz?
It is. I love it.
It's all wired in, so it looks like it's being used.
Yeah. So basically, all the synths are wired into the patch bay, and the ones that are MIDI are wired into the MIDI hub. And then, so basically, I could just slide over an instrument in Ableton and hear something on each one. There's a couple things that like the Ensoniq, I kind of just do. I hook that up when I need it. But yeah, Space Echo is in an insert and everything, and yeah, it's all pretty much ready to go. And it kind of, like, I needed it to be that way, because if it's not, I won't use it. Like,
no.
My space before this was like a multi-room place in Burbank that had a lot more room. But having the 2 rooms, I had synths in the other room. I never used them. Like, the Juno was just completely underutilized. And when I set up this room, that I set up really small on purpose, to make myself just work on my own stuff. So I'm not gonna put a couch in here. I wanted all my synths either in front of me or right behind me, so that I can control them from the main controller and not have to plug anything in. Because if I need to do that, I mean,
you're not gonna do it.
I mean, there's also, you know, like, you'll lose the idea, but also, like, I don't want to do that, like, in the middle of, like, you know,
the flow.
Yeah.
And what is your, and it's such a debate about, well, surely you can get plugins that do all these things. And what is your feeling behind staying out of the box?
I think each thing has its own purpose. Like, the Space Echo is fantastic, and I usually, if I'm tracking a synth, I'll usually put it on with just a really really, really fast delay. So it almost has like this, just like instantaneous, like just tape, like artifact after, and it's so unreliable and it's so wonky that makes it so beautiful. But then what I'll do,
It's your wonky though. It's not
Yeah.
the same as, because I've got a Space Echo that's wonky.
Yeah.
But I bet you it's not the same wonky as your wonky.
Yeah, no, it's different. Two different wonkies. Yeah, no, it's but yes, you're right, and it's just like, but then what I'll do is sometimes in the box I'll use the Valhalla delay, which is like probably my favorite plugin, and I'll use that, stereo just to widen it up, So both. That's the answer. Is like I use both. I think for certain things, I'll try hardware, and I'll be like, you know what? Let me try the plugin. And sometimes the plugin wins, but sometimes hardware wins. It just depends on the application. Like I'm certainly not a purist in that. Like I think that, it's not the gear. It's as much of the intention and the skill set and taste and all those things. That said, like having interesting gear to play through and give it a certain, color, a certain patina, like that, it means everything to me, because it's like, but at the end of the day, if I need to do something like super fast or it's something that I need to do a lot of recalls on, I'm always printing stuff. Like I print everything really fast just to move on and not dwell on stuff. But if it's something that I know that's going to need a lot of changes, then I might do it in a plugin, in a VST.
Do you use the tape machine?
I do all the time. Yeah.
Really?
I have these two are like the main ones I use, and I kind of favor this one. I'm always constantly just bouncing stems to it, or just like leads, like synth leads to it, and then put it back in the box. Kicks, when I did some sample packs, every sample went to tape, and then I put it back in the box and edited and stuff. I use this a lot. I use it often. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Piece
It
of
has the speed is great because sometimes I'll play something a few octaves up and then just drop the speed down.
That's what we want to do.
It's just incredible. It sounds great. And sometimes I'll even if I can tune it afterwards or something, like I'll just put my finger on that just to kind of give it a certain wonkiness, another wonkiness, and then which is great because it makes stuff sound even a little more woozy. So yeah, I love this. And it's funny because like these tape machines a couple years ago, just everybody just didn't want them. So like both of these were like, hey, you're into tape, you want my old tape machine? Like, sure. Yeah. So like that's how I got both of these. I'm really thankful for that. And I'm always looking out for different ones. I want to get a multi-track one because these are both just two-track stereo. So yeah, I use these all the time though.
This gentleman cost me, I think it was $6,500. Let me introduce you to my new friend. I saw you messing with this thing called an overstare on Instagram, and it's just really interesting to see. It's like it's your
just right there in the front.
It's just awesome.
It's incredible. It's my favorite piece of gear probably in this whole room. It's just as a creative tool. And originally I got it. I was like, I really wanted something to treat to my two bus, like a vibey piece of gear, and it's not that to me at all. Yeah. But it's just as a sound design tool, it's game changing. It's and I love it so much. Like I'm not kidding when I say it's my favorite piece of gear. It's right in front of me for a reason. It's always, I use it in every single session on something, usually something drums,
Yeah. For me, because I'm massively into breakbeat and rare groove and stuff, for me, it creates that kind of saturation that isn't contrived. When you try to make vintage beats.
Yeah.
And there's always something a little bit. Right. But with this, it's the real deal.
Yeah. And my favorite section is the compressor section because it just gets so massive. And that with the distortion, it just makes this suck in between all the beats. That's incredible. And then if you have this self-oscillating, which it does, and you tune it, because you can tune it to, I always have, in my Ableton rack, I have this as an external effect and a tuner right after it, so I can tune that. So if you're doing some kind of breakbeat or something like that with this massive low end, you can tune it to the track and stuff. So I do that a lot. And then it's almost like a synth, a sub running under the beat. And then that gets affected by the other stuff in the
I
line.
mean, I put a tight kit, like a really tight sounding
Yeah.
kit in there, and it sounds like the Levy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Bonham. It's
yeah,
just-
exactly. It's
just-
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So you work in Ableton, and this seems like it's got a lot of use. So
Yeah.
pads
Yeah.
is your thing.
Yeah, I like that. I also have a little 88 guide down here.
Okay.
So it just depends on what I'm doing, but like as far as just getting stuff in really fast, and obviously drums are always on here. So I Ableton. It's been that way for about 6 years now. I was in Pro Tools before that, and we talked about that that part of my life, and now I love Ableton. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's great, and yeah.
And my favourite synth in the world is the Lyra,
Incredible.
and I see that that's proximate as well.
These two knobs, these are my favorite things. Just kind of have a drone going, and then you turn this, and it just like the feedback is it's the craziest, it's so ugly, but with some reverb on the end of it, it just sounds massive.
The reason I own a Lyra is because of you have cost me a lot of money, and that's why we got 8 and put them through 56 speakers.
I saw that picture on you.
But it just goes to show how you can get like positive inspiration to go on journeys.
Yeah,
and we come round full circle. It's really interesting to see the Lo-Fi Junkie. We did a whole bunch of like tapey effects with this Albion Solstice. And I had expensive Chase Bliss pedals and these space echoes and stuff, but actually that was my favourite. It's just great.
Yeah, so I have that one there, and then in the live case, one of these effects aids is the Lo-Fi Junkie too. So I have that. Like there's a lot of these lead sounds are going through that, and it's just dimed. Like this is like my whole Eurorack, all those patches you see online. This is the secret to just how it just sounds the way it does. I think I use that probably that in this one so much. I mean every lead sound is going through that because it just gives it this like you just shave off all the highs and it just like that's it. Yeah, I love that module so much. Yeah, it's incredible.
Amazing. And I see that you've got a Syrian because I was really criticised for suggesting that I think is one of the...
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The way the two oscillators detune is just wonderful. Yeah. I don't have a Taurus, so that was like my first point in that kind of form factor Moog. But it's fantastic. I use it for leads all the time.
So, as I mentioned in my introduction, I'm a massive fanboy, and you were very much the soundtrack of my life when I was going through a difficult kind of personal patch, because it was like your music is a real release of, dare I say, anger? Is that fair? Or darkness?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're not an angry, you're a lovely guy.
Yeah.
But I guess it's an outlet.
It is, because I mean, if I that's where I put that energy, right? Because if I didn't, I would walk around and be a jerk all day, I guess. but like it's I have to put it somewhere because we all have those feelings, and it's just kind of like the way that's what I channel. But when I sit, it makes me happy because I get that out of myself, and it's like instinctively like the kind of music I want to make is that stuff that's that dark and like it's a vice for me. It's therapeutic, very therapeutic, And right before I started, making music with this project, like I went through a really, 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 really bad like mental health period. So this like getting this under control and this whole thing has quite literally like just been absolutely saved my life and so it's to get personal, but it means so much to hear that it helped you and possibly it's helping others to kind of deal with feelings like that. It's fantastic. I mean, it's more than I can ask for. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think that is something that isn't spoken about enough. People, I mean, something I'm really fighting for is this idea that you've got to be a virtuoso, you've got to do your scales first, you've got to learn how to read music and study, play other people's music before you're allowed to write your own. And for me, I think there are real mental health benefits to whether it be tinkling on a piano or just distorting the buggery out of a drum loop. And I think that it's a form of expression.
Yes.
And for me, this point in my life, I couldn't be angry. It wasn't
same.
my story. And so for me, I would escape into that fury.
Yeah. It's like, I know exactly. It's just expression. It's kind of like, and there's days that we're angrier.
I think I've heard those days of
Yeah,
yours.
yeah.
It's like, wow,
Yeah,
Joseph's really mad today.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's a great. I need it. I need this, this expression. If I didn't have it, I didn't have it for years before this. What I did, I basically spent 7 years co-writing songs with people, and they were aimed towards advertisements and trailers and TV programs and stuff, and it was fantastic. And my productivity, what that did was help me get. It helped me finish stuff. It helped me, because I think it's super important, because we can tinker all we want and we can make cool sounds, but if you're not putting stuff out into the world, I think that's something that you should start working on. And making all the songs for that purpose with other people, I had an accountability, to finish this stuff because I had somebody that I had written the song with. So not only did it help me become really productive really fast, and my workflow just like work really, really fast, I totally bring that into my own music, because it's kind of like, I could sit here and spend months and months and months on the track, but why? It's like I get it to a point where I feel like, this was fun for me, and this was a challenge for me to do, and so let me just put out into the world where other people can enjoy it. And it's great to hear that you did, and it helped. Yeah, because if you don't, you'll never get that.
Well, I
experience.
think also I find it's like finishing each track or cue brings you that much closer to writing a great track or a great cue.
Yeah.
And I think that we all know when inspiration strikes, or you just find that amazing riff, it's instantaneous.
Yes.
It's not something you necessarily have to work at.
Right.
It's something to work towards. I
Yeah,
think. And
exactly.
and by moving, as in finishing,
Yeah.
that's you moving towards it.
Yeah.
I think that's my theory. It's very rare that I listen to music and I just can't figure out how it's done. So I'd really appreciate. I mean, so you mentioned that you kept Ableton running and stuff like that. So is it a stage process of kind of harvesting sounds and beats and clips?
Yes. I tend to make Fridays a sound design day, where it's kind of like it's.
I love that.
Right,
Fridays.
it's Friday. I need when I move the studio back home, and I have there's like kids that are going to school, and like before that, as a single person, it's like I would work every day. Like I still would. If I didn't have a family, I'd be in here every minute of the day because I love it. But I try to have some structure. So to help me get that structure, like having a Friday ritual, of a sound design day, a fun day, a day to just kind of like explore. And in the morning I'll knock out, if I need to do notes on something, I'll knock that out right away. But the rest of the day is usually sound design. Yeah, so I'll just fire up something, and I get excited for those because I have these ideas like, what happens if I run this through this, and I'll make notes about that, and then on Friday I'll do that.
So you think about it during the week.
Yeah.
It's in showering. Oh,
yeah. That oscillator, yeah.
That, I have to say, is one of the reasons I really like outboard and modular.
Yes.
Because you can think of it in the physical realm.
Yeah.
Thinking about it in 2D plugins.
Right.
Those kind of ideas don't really come to me.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I could just tie that sequencer up to a filter,
Sure.
And I think that's I'm going to have to copy you on that.
Yeah, please.
Friday's sound design day.
It just kind of gives this air of like, it's a fun day, and then
Warping Wednesdays.
Yeah, exactly. But like, it's like, you've done library stuff, obviously, and it's kind of like, even those days I have like, I try to like, Thursday is we'll do all the notes for those library cues, and we'll finish those, and kind of getting into those cycles and that way of working, I think is really, it helps you stay, very productive.
So interesting what you said about the discipline you found from doing stuff like adverts and stuff. So you've structured your weeks so that you're still Snakes of Russia doing crazy sound design, but incorporating it into a much more disciplined workflow, which is you need to work quickly when you're actually making.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge thing in my life. Like, doing that work that I said, but the music was all over the place. It was like, this thing was dark, and this thing was wacky, and this thing was an ad for soap, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I started saying I'm gonna do this because this, like I was releasing so much just into the ether. And I maybe it would end up in something, maybe it wouldn't. So it was kind of like sucking the soul out of me a little bit. And so I wanted to make stuff that I could just put out into the world and hopefully people would appreciate. And I had no idea if they would. And, I'm thankful that they do. And so, yes, I mean, having all those practices in place of, getting things done definitely helps now. But I'm able to put all of that other work, the sound design, preset design, this and that, through the lens of the snake stuff, which is what I wanted, which is what I'd be doing anyway. It's
Yeah.
but it's very focused, where it's just like, before I'd have to kind of like make a track that would be like, kind of the sync flavor of the month, hand claps and this and that. So now it's like I'm doing the one thing that I want to be doing, which is great.
And you found success in that, so kind of
Yeah.
ironically. So instead of spreading yourself thinly,
Yeah.
you focused in.
And then it went outward. It's really weird how that worked, but yes, and it's still ongoing. Obviously, like it's just opportunities. Thankfully, have been popping up. But they want most of the people just do this what you're doing, and that's great. That's really all I can ask for as an artist.
Absolutely. So are you working mainly with audio, or do you make your own sample instruments?
A little of both. A lot of times it's audio. I have a folder that I'm just always collecting samples, loops, beats, sounds, and putting them in to warp and to mess with. And then sometimes I'll sample some stuff on my own, and I guess it just depends on the application. I just finished a collection of these horror trailer cues, and I found that all of that stuff, it was way cooler if I made the sound myself and then got it. But it always goes in the box to further manipulate, mess with the pitch and stuff. But and then sometimes it's a library, and sometimes it's a library that I mess with and run through the overstayer, and and just. But it's a combination of all those things, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Lovely looking Mini Moog, and again, just great to see it with the leads in.
Yeah.
It implies that it's
Being
it's
used,
up for use.
It's my go-to like sub, essentially.
Right.
And it's so versatile. This was my dream since I was a kid, and when Moog reissued them, I was like, cool, I'll get it one of these days. But as soon as they said they were not making them anymore, I was like, all right, I need to handle it. So I got it, and like you have to bury me with this synth. This is like my
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
This is my number one. I mean, it's a work of art, and it just sounds. I use it on everything. Fantastic usually through the space echo, because that just shaves off all that high end.
And gives you a harmonic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Makes it so much easier to mix.
yeah.
A pair of horns above a door means there's something behind that
Right.
door usually.
Yeah,
Should we have a look?
yeah. Yeah, just vocal tracking, and if I'm gonna bang on some drums.
And it's
That's
a
good,
149.
Yeah.
Man of
yeah.
extraordinary taste.
Yeah. That mic is incredible. Yeah. These days that I'm not tracking a lot of bands, I don't really hang on to a lot of mics. But there's a Royer 121 behind you that
Right.
always sounds fantastic on anything, especially horns and stuff. But yeah. But the 149 is like perfect on everything.
Absolutely.
And then the SM7 if I just need to scream into it or something. You know what I mean?
There's stuff coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned before, I discovered you on Instagram. How important has that social media activity been for you?
It's kind of been everything, really. It's really made it possible. I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here together. It's really easy to kind of like, think social media is not a good thing, or it's people are wasting too much time on it. But I just treat it, it's part of my job. It's part of, and it didn't start off that way. It started off as like, hey, I want to make these cool beats and make these little videos to go along with them. And then it kind of like, just by doing that, it kind of just snowballed, and here we are. So I would say it's very, very crucial to the thing, because it just kind of gets the word out to so many more people. And then
It's a connection though, as well.
absolutely more that I feel like that, you know, never before I think in my career has that ever been a thing where like, you know, you start following someone, they start following you, and then there's a message in your inbox about this opportunity. Like, that's fantastic, you know. And I you know, been doing this a while, and we all have, but it's like I've never experienced that. Like, it's incredible, and to me, it's been incredibly organic. Like, none of it is like, you know, this. It just happens that way, and I'm very thankful. Like, you know, but yeah,
I think people really do have to take it seriously, because
I think so.
you're working in an industry with people like yourselves, like me, who are putting stuff out there in these different media and ways of kind of making people understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Not just sonically, but visually, aesthetically.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely crucial. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for your time,
Yeah.
Joseph. As I said, I'm a massive fan of your work, and we might be talking about a little bit of a collaboration later in the year, might we not?
Oh, yeah.
We're not allowed at the moment to speak about it, but it's great.
Yeah.
Linked in the video description down below, some of Joseph's sound packs and also links to your social media. Thanks ever so much for watching. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. Ding the bell to be notified the next time we put a video up. And one of those for Joseph, aka Snakes of Russia. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Cheers.